All right, welcome. This is episode 12 of Central Couch Convos. We got Josh Scott with us. Josh is one of the newest members of Central. Got baptized, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Ish,
Yep.
something like that. So we're going to hear Josh's story, a little bit of how he came to Christ and how he was able to make his faith his own. And I'm just going to dive into that because I think there's several people that they base their faith off of just what's always been there or what mom and dad have taught them, and they haven't just been able to say, you know what, my faith is my own, and I'm going to take what Jesus had said, not just what mom and dad or preacher or whoever else has said. Before we get into that, we're going to learn a little bit about Josh, who he is, where he's from. So, Josh, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you went to school, where you grew up, all that fun stuff?
Yeah, so I grew up in Troy, a small town down the road, like 25 minutes or so, depending on how fast you drive. I went to O'Brien Central. I graduated there in 2014, and I moved to Martin almost exactly 2 years ago. So I've been here for a few years, and I went to tech school after high school. So I went to New Bern for a year while I was living at home, and finished up there actually early. And I've been working at a company called Greenfield Products in Union City for the last 5 years. So yeah. Pretty boring, pretty boring story there, but
yeah. I like how it's Greenfield Products
in Union
City.
Yeah, I think they used to be in Greenfield years ago, like before I was even thought of. And
so there's not a Union City product in Greenfield?
No, I think they should file for a name change, but
probably should.
I don't know. Yeah, it can be confusing. Everybody thinks I work in Greenfield, but
right.
Yeah.
When you say Greenfield, you would think that naturally.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And in Greenfield, which everybody talks about this, but Greenfield doesn't really make any sense because it's Greenfield, they're the Yellow Jackets at the school, and their colors are orange.
Wow, I never even realized that.
Yeah,
that's really confusing.
It is.
Somebody really needs to talk to the people in Greenfield.
Let's get it right, Greenfield.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So, Josh, tell us, as far as growing up, did you play sports? What hobbies did you have?
I've always had a ton of hobbies. Thankfully, I never played sports for the school, but shoot, man, I've been playing pickup basketball consistently for the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a big part of my life, even though I never played for school. Ultimate Frisbee, we used to play that twice a week. I was always I've always considered a blessing from God, that I've enjoyed so many hobbies because they kept me out of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Having all these sports to play and disc golf. I don't know if you've ever played it or heard of it. There's a course right down the road here, but just stuff like that just always kind of kept me out of trouble. And me and my friends, we would do that stuff. And but yeah, sports and just different games and stuff like that has always been a big part of my life. On the side a little bit, just for fun.
Yeah. When you say Ultimate Frisbee, as far as the students, during the summertime, we try to play Ultimate Frisbee about once a week. Type deal, and play a lot. So some of us were talking about us, like we do on Sunday nights with college and youth, getting together and playing Ultimate Frisbee this summer. I think it'd be a blast.
Oh yeah, I'm pumped. Actually, Charles, he texted me last night and told me, he was like, "You play Ultimate Frisbee?" I guess somebody told him. I don't know if somebody told him or if he just assumed that I played. And I was like, "Yeah, I used to play a lot." And he told me that you guys play. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I have to get in on some of that. So I'm looking forward to it. I've always loved stuff like that. So yeah, anytime that you get a chance to play basketball or something like that, just because obviously there's the fun competitive aspect to it, but just just building relationships is the main thing. I've got so many friends, so many guys. If I'm in Walmart or something, I run into them hey man, how's it going? How's everything going for you? Just met them through playing basketball, stuff like that. So that's stuff I really like, is just building relationships, and that's definitely a good way to do that. So
yeah, and there can be a good ministry in that, with the building relationships.
Yeah, for sure.
Years ago, we used to play. Before we built the sanctuary, we were able to use this space to play basketball. We used to have nights at UTM where we'd get, however many guys, and we'd invite guys from the high school and sometimes guys from the college would just come and play, and we just played pickup basketball. And a lot of those guys that came didn't go to church anywhere, and so it gave us an opportunity to, we prayed before and we, tried to build relationships with them. Some of those guys end up getting involved in church and
it's awesome
and stuff. So it's definitely a good opportunity.
Yeah, no doubt.
To do that. So so tell me about, how'd you meet your wife and when did y'all get married?
Yeah, so Caitlin, shout out Caitlin one time. We met 3 years ago. We've almost in a couple weeks it'll be exactly 3 years of dating, like us dating. March 12th. And I know that like once you get married, I guess I don't know if that date really goes away, but
I remember that
I'll
date.
always remember it. But she went to Freed Harmon. It's like a kind of like a Christian school in Henderson, Tennessee. And I had a couple buddies that went there, and I would just go and like hang out with them. And I remember they had like their homecoming thing. That's like where, because like they don't have like fraternities and sororities at like Christian schools. They have like social clubs.
Yeah, I went to a Christian school. I know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, you know all about yeah, you know more about it than me. She was in one of those, and my buddy was like in their rival club. But anyway, they like at homecoming, all the social clubs are like they get in the gym for like rewards or whatever. And I remember seeing her like across the gym. I just remember being like, man, that's a good looking girl. But like it was kind of one of them like, man, you know, she's good looking, but that would never happen. Like she's way out of my league. And ended up hitting her up on the gram, and man, I don't know how, but she somehow got found interest in me, and
the grace of the Lord.
That's anybody don't believe in God, man. I'm telling you, just hey, look at us.
That's right.
We ended up just talking, and from there, man, it was amazing. Like I never thought I'd get married at all. Like that was never my plans, and not long after meeting her, it's like God was like, man, this is the one. Because I never saw like myself finding anybody that I'd want to be with forever, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And so within a few months of dating her, like they say, when you know, I was like, man, I ain't never felt nothing like this.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's been great. We got married April 30th of last year. I hope that
you had to think about it.
That's right. Yeah, no. April 30th of last year. It was like right in the middle of COVID, so It was pretty wild, like the wedding planning. But ended up working out really well, because it was like there was actually like a 20-person limit for like the venue we were at, and so it was just like our immediate family, and like we each got one friend, and her grandmother was there, and so it was like really small, like intimate setting, which we kind of wanted anyway, and it turned to be really well. Like I know it was very stressful leading up to it, but it couldn't the day and everything, it couldn't have gone any better. So.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Where'd y'all get married at?
The Waddell place. I hope that's how you say it, in McKenzie.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of people get married there. It's a pretty popular place.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'd recommend getting married there.
Yeah. I'm already married, but.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, if y'all ever want to like renew
your
your vows,
yeah,
I'd do it there.
Yeah, maybe we can do that. Our 11-year anniversary, since we've been married 10 years.
Really?
Maybe I can do that.
Hey, congrats.
Yeah, man.
That's something to be proud of.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be there one
Big
day.
10. One day in
Nice.
9 years, you'll be there.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, man, that's good. That's good. That's cool that you can remember, you know, your story, and we all have a story to tell. You know, especially when we find somebody that we've fallen in love with and can serve the Lord together. And you know, of course, I've only known you and Caitlin since I guess when y'all started coming in July when we met, you know, type thing, and just getting to know y'all more over the last few months. You know, it's been cool, and I can see a change in both of you, just growing in Christ, and not just from things that Corbin will share as far as, you know. Not that he shares everything about every college student or the career. You guys are the career part, college and career. But, you know, he'll share, you know, proud so-and-so because he's growing, she's growing, you know, and stuff. And so, and I do the same with students. You know, he's growing, she's growing. So it's cool to hear those things, and we can see it, you know, see it in you. And with that, you know, as we get into kind of the heart of what we want to talk about with making our faith our own, you mind like sharing your story about, you know, how you grew up when you came to Christ, and then, you know, kind of maybe from that flow into, you know what I'm saying, how you were able to take your faith and make it your own.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in church. I'm one of those kids, like I've been in church since I was born, like, but for most of my life, that was, you know, that was it. I was just in church. Like I was there because I had to be. Wasn't until I was about 14 that I went to church camp. And up until that point, all church camp was a week during the summer that I like couldn't hang out with a few of my friends because they were at church camp and I didn't go.
Yeah.
So I remember one Sunday, I asked one of my buddies. I was like, "Hey man, you want to come hang out after church? You know, whatever, just play Madden, whatever. I don't know, something stupid." And he's like, "No, I can't. We're going to the church camp." So he's like, "You should go." And he never really asked me like to come with him. And I was like, "Man, yeah, I mean, I'd like to, but we couldn't really afford to just like last minute like that, you know, pay to go to camp." And turned out, I talked to the youth minister at the time, who I'm still friends with today. His name's Tim Spain. He's been a great influence in my life and a good friend to this day. But he was like, there's actually people here that pay, like, so that kids can go, like, if maybe they can't afford it. I thought that was really cool. Anyway, I ended up going, and man, that's where I really, like, my relationship with Jesus Christ really started. And it wasn't like, the theme. I think the theme that year was like finishing the race or something, like how we all got to help each other out and all that. But like the messages were great. I'm sure the singing was great. But what really got me and like stood out to me was these two guys named Justin Wheaton and Bronson Krim. I don't know where they're at today. I think they were from Benton, Kentucky. But I think at that time, so this is 2011 or 2012. At that time, they were like my age that I am now, maybe like a year or two younger. But I just remember thinking it was so cool. Like, they were older, but they were still like younger guys that you could tell they were like genuinely invested in like my friends and I. Like, I thought it was so cool that they were there just like hanging out with us, and they were definitely followers of Christ, but just in the way they acted and carried themselves. But like, they also like knew how to have fun and like have a good time, and like that was something I hadn't really seen that much of. And a lot of that's on me because I wasn't really plugged in with the youth group that much. But yeah, man, just like hanging out with them and just like them just investing time into us and hanging out, and then that led into that week, after that initial relationships there, like getting into more deep like spiritual conversations, and man, I had never really experienced anything like that after that point. So that week was really big for me. That's what started like my walk with Christ. And there wasn't like, from there, like the next few years in high school, I tried. I would say like I definitely tried to have that walk with Christ and do better. As far as like how I carried myself, I would say it was a lot better than it was before I went to camp and like started getting more plugged in with the youth. But there was still, and I've heard Corbin talk about this before, there wasn't like full surrender. And actually, I wouldn't say I even reached that till within the last year or so. But we can talk about that more later. But yeah, that church camp was really what started it for me. But
yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. From there, like we had a small youth group, like, so it was like me and maybe like 3 or 4 other friends that we kind of, you have like your core group. We kind of went to everything, and that was good. And, as when I graduated high school, there was there was a classroom for every age group of kid, like, and then like I said, you have that core, like the main youth group in high school, but then like when you graduate, it's like, all right, there you are, like. So I was kind of in limbo there for a little bit after I graduated high school. So it's like, do I go back to the high school class? They're a lot younger, and we're not really on the same level, going through the same stuff, or do I jump to the adult, like 40-plus-year-old class? Like, we're not really in the same places either. Like, there was really no in between classes or anything, because most people, I guess when they graduate, they'd go off, move off, and go to college somewhere. But me just going to tech school and everything, I stayed at home and continued to go. But that kind of went on for a few years, and like, I don't know, I started to feel a little bit more like out of place. Like, my home church kind of started to feel like less like home, and my church family started to feel less like family. And like, that's nothing against anybody there. It's just, I guess, how just with the ages, the ages of people there, it's just kind of how it worked out. But and plus, I don't know if you mentioned this earlier. So I grew up in the Church of Christ, and and nothing against anybody there, but I'd already, for like probably right after high school, I'd already been thinking like there was some things there, like, man, I don't know if I necessarily agree with this. A lot of, like, instruments, a lot of people made a big fuss over instruments, and I'm a big music guy. Like, I love music, and I connect through music, and I never really got that. And it felt too like a lot of the focus was on like how you do things, rather than why we're doing it. And like, so it kind of took away from that relationship like aspect and made it more like a, you know, I guess a works-based, however you want to put it. But so I was already having like, you know, confliction with that. And then I stayed there as long as I did, really, because, you know, I guess I felt like I was playing a role. Like I was playing that role of like that younger guy who, you know, oh, you know, everybody else leaves, but he's still here. Like, we're so proud of him. Like, you know, he's a young adult now, but he's still going to church. Like, he's still coming here and, you know, helps out. And I was kind of playing that role, I felt like, and plus I just knew, like, people would be upset if I left. And I really didn't have the confidence to leave. Like, I felt like I guess I was living out other people's faith. Like you said earlier, coming into, you know, talking about coming into my own faith. Like, at that point, I was like, I had my mom's faith or different people in my family or, you know, different people in the church. Like, and that never works. And because of that, I was starting to have, like, you know, because if you don't have your own faith, if you haven't, you know, spent that time with Jesus, like, for yourself and, like, worked on that relationship for yourself, and you're going off somebody else's, whether it be your parents or a friend or anybody, it don't matter who it is. If it's not your faith, when you get out in the world and something happens, you know, like, or, you know, you start running into different things that life throws at you, you're gonna be tested, and if you ain't got your faith to go off of, it's gonna be rough. And I kind of ran into that. You know, life happens, and I had some things happen, and, you know, my faith wasn't that strong because I was trying to live out my mom's faith, which you know, that doesn't work. Right. So we ended up, I'd already met Caitlin at this point, and she grew up Church of Christ as well. And we kind of went back and forth. I would visit her at her church, and she would come to mine sometimes. And I knew we were getting married soon, and I knew that, like, what I was doing, like, kind of bouncing back and forth between churches. Like, I knew I didn't want to do that, and we ended up going to church with my brother for a little bit. He goes to a church in Troy. They're kind of like more Pentecostal, so that was like a big jump from Church of Christ. But then again, back to that whole thing of if it's not your faith, like, it was good for a little bit. It's good to get out, I guess, and, you know, but I was kind of going off his faith. I still hadn't really, you know, found, like, what am I looking for? And so me and Caitlin had been married for about three or 4 months, and I felt like a failure because you know, every time Saturday night would roll along, I'm like, I don't know where we're going to church tomorrow, and that's not a good place to be. And I was like, because I'm big on community, and I really didn't feel plugged in anywhere, and I just felt like a failure because, you know, here I am, I got a wife of 3 months, and I'm supposed to be kind of, you know, somewhat of a leader here, and I don't even have us in a church. So, like, I ended up watching one of the first one of these that you did with Corbin, and I was like, you know, I went to high school with that guy. He's a pretty solid guy, and we live right down the road, so we driven past here a lot, and decided to just try Central Baptist. Decided to just try it out, and we came, and the rest is history. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, man, that's cool. And I love that you, you know, like in your story, you know, you talk about, you know, the power that going to that youth camp had, you know, on you, and I think the power of that, and you saw the two guys that you were talking about that really invested in you. You know what I'm saying? I think the cool thing about that too is when we go to camps, I think we're able to hear God more clearly because we're away from everything else. You know, we've chosen to say, you know what, I'm not gonna, you know, get on, you know, watch TV. I'm not getting on social media. I'm not, you know, doing all those things. I'm just gonna spend some time with these people and, you know, what God wants to say, and, you know, it moves you in that direction. And it sounds like to me that through your journey, you just kept turning your ear to the Lord. You know, you kept turning your heart's attention to the Lord. And while you're talking, I was thinking about in Luke 17 where, you know, the disciples basically are praying and they're asking God, we're not praying, they're talking to Jesus, and they're telling him, would you give us more faith? And like, Lord, would you give us more strength or give us more faith? And long story short, Jesus is pretty much like, no, I'm not giving you more faith. And they're kind of like, what? And then as we read that, we're like, what? What are you saying here? And what Jesus is basically saying in that passage is, I'm not going to give you more faith. You got to use the faith that I did give you. Saying like, you got to strengthen that faith that I did give you. Use that, exercise that faith. And that's how you get more faith. It grows through time as God sees that, and he honors you and blesses you with more faith as you put the faith that you have into practice. So I was thinking through that, as you were talking about, in your story, you come to Christ, through that camp experience, and, you keep growing, and you're seeing, okay, no longer is this thing based on what mom was doing, and so many try to do that. And like you said, it doesn't work. It never works to make my faith all based off of somebody else. We're not Christians by default, like we just try to say, hey, I'm Christian because I'm not Buddhist, I'm not Muslim, I'm not Hindu, blank, whatever it may be. Like, we're not Christian by default. So it's either we're Christ followers or we're not, and so for you saying, hey, I'm a Christ follower, but I'm going to believe what I believe, not based on because somebody had told me this. And it is obviously a parent's job to raise you in church and to teach you Christ as a Christian. It sounds like your mom did a great job with that, but at some point, they can't be moms. I can't base mine off of what my parents did. It's got to be based off of my relationship with Jesus and what Jesus is teaching. So, and when we do that, that's that faith thing. It's strengthening that faith because you're using that faith to say, okay, Lord, I'm stepping out. I want to hear you speak. What are you saying to me? And then as God is speaking to you and dealing with you, then you come to that, okay, Lord, where is it that you have my wife and I to serve you and to worship you with a body of believers? Where's that going to be? It takes faith to go through that process. It takes faith to say, you know what, this is the place. It takes faith. As you got baptized, a couple weeks ago, it takes faith to say, you know what, I'm going to get baptized to show the public profession of what Christ has already done in my life, so that the church body can keep you accountable. And so again, y'all have been, I guess, coming here, since July?
Yeah.
Baptized last week, joined D Now Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember saying, I think I told you this, but I was like, man, how cool would it be if the Scots joined on D Now Sunday?
Yeah.
Sure enough, they did. That's when the Lord's in charge.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, that's cool. But with your time that you've been able to say, I'm making this my own. What are some things that you feel like God's taught you through that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So since like coming to my own, like faith over fear has been like a big thing. Because I've struggled with anxiety before. But since like really fully surrendering to Christ, like it hasn't been near as bad. So really just, I guess he's taught me like to now, because like with my own faith comes my own relationship with Christ, like, which has been huge because I feel like he's been like, hey, trust in me.
Yeah.
Don't, like, all these little things you worry about and freak out about and overthink, man, let that go. Like, give it to me. And so that, and then just like trying to, because like so many times I've run from opportunities, like because of my anxiety. Like, if you ask me, like you mentioned D-Now weekend earlier, if you ask me this time last year, or especially the year before, like, hey, we have this youth conference coming up, D-Now, I think you'd be a good leader. Would you want to help out with that? I'm going to think of every excuse in the book to be like, no, it's so and so's birthday. Like, I'm not going to be able to be there. Like,
right.
Even though I could be, but because of like, up here, I'm hearing all these lies. Like, man, you can't do that. Like, you'll mess up. You're gonna fail. Like, why even try? And man, I battled that so long. And like I said, just like really since fully surrendering, like, I remember you text me and I didn't even think about it, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to help. So just stuff like that, just putting more trust in him, and having faith over fear, and just like when opportunities come up, take them. Like, and don't be afraid to, because I'm not saying I feel like I'd be a bad leader to say this, but I'm not saying I'm a good leader, but I have, I've had opportunities to lead before that
Yeah.
I feel like I could have done a good job, but I believed the lies in my head and let fear take control and missed out on some good opportunities. So just to try to like step up and be a better leader too, because like I said earlier, what brought me to want to start that relationship with Christ in the first place was guys around my age. So if I can step up and if I can be one of those guys for at least one kid now, like that would be huge. Like that would be the coolest thing ever to me, because like I said, that's what started me off. If I can invest time in a kid, whether it be through playing basketball here on Sunday nights, or ultimate frisbee, whatever, just hanging out. Like, I love playing the game. I love hanging out and doing whatever. But if I can, if one kid can know, like, hey, this guy, he genuinely cares about me, like after the game or during the game, I don't care. Like, if he knows he can pull me to the side and be like, hey man, I'm struggling with this, like. And I know, like, hey, I have anxiety. I know you talked about having anxiety. Like, can you pray for me? Or like, I need some advice on this. And that to me, that's like would be like just the coolest thing, because that's like, I don't know, it was so big. It was so important to me growing up when I was that age 10 years ago, like in high school, or whatever, that if I could just give back in that way, like that'd be just the coolest thing.
Yeah.
But
I think you are. I mean, just encourage you, because. And several of our youth guys have, just spoken about you and Corbin and Jackson and Greg. Just several college guys that have been able to, especially those guys playing basketball, that say, hey, and even some of those that aren't, they're just sitting around, like I know Cole and Charles and some of those others that, might play occasionally but aren't, playing every week. But they're speaking, say, hey, man, those guys are really encouraging me. I'm really thankful for those guys, so I think you guys are really impacting me in a positive way. And I was just telling Kyle on this earlier, I think the difference right now between, I guess, where our college ministry is now from where it was before is that, you guys are looking for opportunities to invest. You're saying, hey, I want to take my faith and I want to teach it to the next generation and those that are, younger than me, and help them in their journey with Jesus and walk with Christ. So that's a big deal. And I love how you said, you battle with the anxieties and the fears, and you listen to the lies of saying you can't do this, you're not any good at that. But when you begin to own your faith, you begin to hear God more clearly. You begin to hear His voice, and that's what happens when we say, I don't want to listen to the enemy anymore. I want to own this thing, and I want to spend time with Jesus. And the more we spend time with Him, the more we hear His voice, and the more the voice of the enemy gets clouded out.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, man, it's been awesome. Just like being able to shut those lies off. And there's a song you've heard it, "Fear Is a Liar" by Zach Williams, and that's an awesome song. It's so true. And what you said about the college group now, the group we've got is like, they've been such a blessing to me.
Yeah.
Like, because and Corbin too. I'm gonna brag on him. Man, like he started this discipleship class we do on Sunday nights. Like Greg mentioned it in the last podcast, but man, the thing I love about Corbin is, number one, the dude he's like one of the smartest guys I know.
Oh, he's a genius.
He's like a literal genius.
He is.
The dude's got a engineering degree. He could be working anywhere in the world he wants to.
Yeah.
But he chose to, he's like, my heart's in ministry. Like, so he's chose to be here, and like, his thing is too, and he said this before, and like, it just touched me, because like, you can tell it's genuine, and he means it's like, he don't care how many, like, he don't care about numbers. Like, he don't care if the LC is packed, like where there's no seats left, or if there's 4 people there.
That's
Whoever's there, he's invested in. Like, he wants to disciple who's there. He's not worried about, like, let's just fill this place up. Like, he's like, that would be cool, but his main focus is who's here. Like, I'm gonna invest in who's here, and you can tell, man. Like, I've seen so much growth in like the guys that's in our group now, like Greg and Josh Grant, and man, all everybody, man, it's just grown so much. Like, we've grown so much together in like the last year. It's been so cool.
You can tell. I mean, just watching you guys, you can tell that you guys love each other. You live life together, and that's what you guys are a picture of the early church in Acts 2. That's what they did.
Yeah, It's been a blessing for sure. And then like you said, that's to me is like what church is about. Like just that community, like, growing together, learning together, but then not just leaving it there on Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, but like going out and, wherever we go, we're all in different areas of life. College students, I work, but a lot of those college students also work. They go to different places, and wherever we go, just taking what we talk about and what we're learning, taking it with us, and just trying to spread spread the gospel as good as we can. I mean, I could always do a better job of that. I'm trying to get more bold in that, but man, it's been great.
Yeah, that's cool. That's encouraging, and I think encourage others. I mean, I know. I don't know who's watching. It might just be my mom and your mom that watch this.
Probably.
But, and maybe your wife. But whoever's watching, I think they can find a great encouragement in hearing your story and hearing, your journey of faith. And everybody's got their own story. You always hear somebody like, I want a powerful testimony, like, addicted to crack, all this kind of stuff. And then Jesus changed my life, But to me, I love the story of the person that says, I came to Christ when I was younger. And, I was able to walk in holiness. I was able to live in holiness with the Lord. To me, that's the most powerful testimony. And hearing that when you came to Christ, you continue turning your ear to the Lord. You continue saying, I want to do it Jesus. God, I know they're not perfect. There's a lot of mistakes and mess ups that are in there. We've all got those, man. But with that, you're saying I'm continuing to turn to the Lord. I'm going to repent, get things right, move towards and forward in holiness, and God blesses that. And so in your story with that, and then saying, hey, God has been able to, that faith has been able to help drive out the fear and the anxieties and the failures and the lies that you listen to. And man, so many people are in that place. And I was just talking with somebody today, and I've used this illustration before with our students, but it's kind of like that idea of, you got that kid that climbs up the high dive and they stand on the end of the diving board and they just freeze. They're not going to jump. You got those mean kids at the bottom, man, just go ahead and jump already, type deal. But then you got those that are genuinely trying to encourage and say, hey, it's going to be fine. You got this, buddy, type thing, and rooting them on. You got mom, just jump, Billy, jump, type thing. You got those moments, but that kid is frozen because of fear. The fear has paralyzed that kid, and so, but when that kid finally jumps, they want more. Yeah. They want to do it again, and so it's that idea that, and maybe, you were that kid at the diving board and said, when I finally said, this is my own faith and I made that jump, man, you just wanted more of Christ. You wanted more, and you still want more, and that's how it's supposed to be. I wanted more of Jesus. None of us have arrived. We're all supposed to be, growing to be like Jesus and growing in love with Jesus and intimacy with Jesus, and so that's going to happen the more time we spend with Him.
For sure. Yeah, I can relate to that. I can relate to that kid on the diving board a little bit. Yeah, man. I'm just trying to grow every day. Like, and that's another thing I'm thankful for. Like you said, me and Caitlin, we placed, or Caitlin and I, I'm sorry.
Whatever the correct grammar is.
Sorry, buddy. We placed membership here. DNAT, was that DNAT? Yeah, DNAT weekend. So
February 7th.
Yeah, so it's been, I guess, about
almost
a month. Yeah. And with that, we've been going to the new members class that Kylan does, which has been awesome. But the first class we went to, he's like talking about how to spend time in the Word. And actually, I think you had him on here a month or however long ago, and he kind of went into it a little bit, but he kind of went pretty deep into like how to spend time in the Word and like how to spend time in prayer, and just like pretty much just like how to spend your quiet time in the morning. Yeah. Which is I've been working on that, and it's been awesome because like I said, I'm just trying to learn and grow, and as much as not to compare our creator to Caitlin, but as much as I know about Caitlin, like I know a lot about her, I know a lot of little details, but there's still things I'm learning every day. Mm-hmm. Like I've figured that out in the almost a year of marriage. I learn something new about her all the time, which I love. Yeah. And the same goes with with God. Like as our relationship grows, like as I get closer with Him, like every day I feel like I'm constantly just like learning new things, and like as we grow, like in our relationship, you know, and that was something that like, cause when I was like in that time of limbo that I was talking about, like I started to have some serious doubts, and that's something else too. Like when you get out of high school and you get out of that main like youth group kind of rhythm, and it's kind of, you get out in the world and it's like, you know, it can be tough. And I mean, I started having some like doubts about things, and like it was shaking me up pretty bad, because I was like, man, is everything I've believed up to this point, is this stuff like real?
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to do like some deep searching, but that's something that is so cool. So I remember thinking like, how, you know, if God's real, why don't we just know everything about him? Like, why is he a mystery? Like,
Right.
such a mystery. But like, I kind of learned through my search, and that is like, you know, there's beauty in mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and doubt. If anybody, you know, like you said, I don't know who's listening to this, but if anybody struggles with doubt, like, it can, you know, it can be an obstacle, or it can be an opportunity. And for me, it was an opportunity to grow in my relationship, thankfully. But yeah, man, just every day, like trying to grow closer to him, and like through time in the Word, like that's been a big thing. And that was something I never really had like before I came here. Like, I'm not saying I wasn't encouraged to do that, like
Right.
at, you know, when I was growing up, but I feel like it's been like, since we started coming to Central, it's not just like, you know, come here on Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday, and hear what we have to say, hear what we have prepared for you, and then go home and forget about it, like, and do whatever you want. Like, I feel like we've been super encouraged here to, like, you know, come here and learn, and, you know, worship together and all that, but we've been really encouraged to, like, go out and disciple, like, you know, try to make disciples and spread what we hear, what we learn here, and that's been big. And like, and been really encouraged to spend time, like spend our own personal time with the Lord. And that's been massive for me. Like I said, and I'm not saying I wasn't encouraged to do that, you know, before, but I feel like maybe I just started listening. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's been a big encouragement here, is that personal time with God. So
Yeah, and that time changes everything.
yeah.
You know, I mean, it's different than just saying, you know, let me open my Bible, you know, land on John. You know, so let me read John chapter 1 today.
Yeah.
Close your Bible and move on. You know, I mean, there's a like you were talking about with Colin's teaching. You know, there's a process of reading through that. If you're going to do John 1, of how to understand what you're reading and take that and apply it to your life. You know, and stuff. And so that's a big deal. And when you get that, again, it changes everything. It teaches you how to worship. You know, how to connect with the Lord, and if you're not connected with the Lord throughout the week, you ain't gonna connect on Sunday. You know, type of thing. It's more difficult anyway. You know, I mean, God can break through any wall and any barrier you try to put up, but at the same time, I mean, as believers, if we want to connect with Christ, with the church body on Sunday and Wednesday, we gotta spend time with Him throughout the week.
For sure.
So, I mean, that's cool, man. You got any last words or encouragement you want to share with anybody, or?
I guess just kind of what we hit on. Just, man, make sure you're spending time in the Word for yourself. Make sure that if you are in church, you're not there because you're trying to live out somebody else's faith. And it can be a challenge to step out and, like, you know, say, hey, I'm gonna try to, you know, do this to grow my own relationship with God, or, you know, or make a move for yourself. It can be difficult because most of the time, unfortunately, people that, you know, maybe you are trying to live out their faith, they kind of try to control you in that way. Like they want you to think like them. A lot of people want you to think the same way you do, and they want you to have their faith, but you can't fall in that trap. You gotta you gotta have your own faith.
That's right.
And that's where it all starts. It's been huge for me, and you know, hopefully anybody that's listening that may be struggling with that, or definitely struggling with things out here of any kind, like, you know, it starts with your own, like, relationship with God. Like, can't be somebody else's.
That's right. Man, that's good. You know, take your faith, make it your own, and own it. You know, you gotta own it. You gotta say, hey, that's mine. You know, you gotta treasure it. So, man, that's a good word. We appreciate you joining us today and giving some great encouragement to whoever's watching. You know, even if it's just our moms.
Yeah.
Hey, Mom. You know, type thing. But anyway, this was episode 12. We'll have episode 13 hopefully coming up next week. But again, Josh, we appreciate you, and seek to encourage Josh, others that to keep walking with Jesus. Is we need each other, so encourage each other in our pursuits of Jesus. So
Thanks for having me.
that's it. Appreciate it. Peace out.